Just a quick and friendly heads up, there is a scene in the very beginning of this video from 2006's The Da Vinci Code, rated PG-13, that is, well, it's anything but PG-13. It's kind of disturbing, so like all of my videos, just put your kids in another room, lock them away for a second. Alright, enjoy. So there I was, scrolling endlessly through Instagram, drooling on myself, oogling at all the pretty pictures of knives that I knew I would never own, never hold, never cherish. And if you're watching this video, chances are you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's almost like a form of self-inflicted torture. You think to yourself, well, maybe the knife gods will smile upon me if only I can manage to push through this soul-crushing agony for a few more minutes. Maybe then I too shall be blessed, and the gods will bequeath unto me that which I desire. Unfortunately, all too often these prayers and pleas, well, they go unanswered. But every once in a long, long while, the cloud cover clears, the heavens open, and the sunbeams shine upon you. And there it is, that which you've craved and lusted over for so long. There it is. Such was my experience, at least, with this. The Reate Bushido, a stunning, albeit somewhat controversial little front flipper from what many consider to be the top-tier Chinese knife manufacturer. What's that? What controversy, you say? Well, apparently it may or may not have looked just like a custom knife from another designer that may or may not have been completely unrelated to the folks at Reate. But that's all hearsay. And at the end of the day, the controversy blew over once the custom maker roughly said, yeah, it's whatever, that's not my knife, it's cool guys, chill. This clean and classy looking little front flipper had caught my eye many a time during my hours-long Instagram binge sessions. Firstly, for the looks, obviously, and then for the price. Because up to this point, Reate's pieces have lived well above my comfort zone as far as my knife budget was concerned. But this beauty was priced semi-reasonably as far as Reate's go, and this one, my Bushido, well, I stumbled upon a fellow Instagram knife lover selling his, and the price was just too good to pass up. So I YOLO'd at the top of my lungs, and I'm so glad that I did. This little top front flipper liner lock is built to Reate standards without question. Titanium liners that are exposed, and they stick up nicely, giving us some lovely shadow boxing around these stunning carbon fiber scales, and everything here top to bottom has been perfectly knocked down and finished to near perfection. Closed up, the blade all but disappears into the handle, so it's no bigger than a Bic lighter or a small pack of, the 5-pack of spearmint gum in the pocket. The milled titanium pocket clip is not deep carry by any means, but it looks so good and aligns so well with the design that I have no complaints. And it helps that it does its job extremely well. And I've experienced no issues as far as ease of carry goes. And when we open it up, we're met with this beautifully done, upswept trailing point blade in M390. And yes, I keep saying little when referring to this knife because, well, it's not big at all. The blade comes in at 2.97 inches long, so just a hair under that 3-inch safe zone for a lot of folks, and open up we're looking at an overall length of 6.81 inches, so a great size for a night out or as an office carry. Meaning you're not going to frighten Karen in the next office over if you whip this out to open a letter. Hopefully, I don't know, Karens can be tricky. At any rate, this modern take on what feels like a very traditional and classical Japanese Kwaiken form factor hits me in all the right spots aesthetically, and I've gotten similar reactions from friends and family, knife obsessed or not. Something about the looks pique a lot of folks' interest, and as a knife nerd, I have to say that is a nice change of pace. Oh, and speaking of Japanese traditions, Bushido roughly translates to the code of honor and ethics developed by and followed by the samurai. And if you're not feeling the all-black everything murdered out variant here, fear not, because when it was in stock, it was available with a satin finish blade as well as a stonewash blade, sporting either these carbon fiber scales or some flawlessly done burlap micarta scales, and we'll discuss availability a little later on. The ergos here are okay. I mean, after all, this is just a rectangle, so it's not like it was meant to be an ergonomic wonderland, but because everything is contoured and knocked down so well, it's exceptionally comfortable in the hand through normal daily use. And considering its intended purpose is at best some light-duty EDC use, I wouldn't recommend using this little cutie with grease-covered hands, because that rectangle shape doesn't offer much in the way of grippiness. And there is only a little bit of jimping on the blade spine and some along the backspacer, but it's very gentle and soft, so again, leave the KY jelly at home if you're carrying the Bushido. The action is where this knife really shines, however. I hesitate to call it a front flipper because it's more like a top flipper. There's this nicely jimped, angled, semicircle quarter round piece up top. You kind of brush across the top of the handle to flip it open, and it is one of the most intuitive front flipper actuations I've ever come across. No second guessing hand placement, no missed flips, just push against the natural angle of that top piece and out comes the blade. We are running on ceramic bearings and they are just wonderfully smooth and near silent throughout the actuation. The titanium liner lock is easy to access, and with an effortless push it's out of the way, allowing that wafer thin blade to swing shut. And although I wouldn't call it drop shut, it is so silky smooth and effortless to close. It's hard to explain, but you can tell the blade weighs nothing. You can feel it while fidgeting with this. But when you go to close it, it acts as if it weighs 10 times as much as it actually does. And I have absolutely loved fidgeting with this piece for hours on end. So snappy and clean on the open, and so reliable and consistent on the close. The action here, it really is something special. And yes, that M390 trailing point blade is truly wafer thin. It's sporting a nice flat grind that comes up to meet a perfectly done swedge at the top of the spine, and because the blade stock was so thin to start with, the final cutting edge is just hair-whittlingly thin. And if you're a slut for sliciness, like me, the Bushido here will most definitely not disappoint. And I've heard that in the past, Reate has struggled to put out knives with these kinds of thin cutting edges, but I can happily report that cutting performance is most definitely not an issue on this particular Reate. I've even broken down quite a few cardboard boxes, and it's handled all of the normal EDC use just swimmingly. And thanks to good old M390, I haven't needed to even touch up the edge since it arrived. So an excellent steel choice for the intended use here. So now that I've finished gushing over the Bushido, we need to address the elephant in the room, and that is the availability, or lack of availability. When I picked mine up secondhand, these were sold out everywhere. And as of writing this review, unfortunately, that hasn't changed. At retail, when it was available, the Bushido was priced at around $230 or $240, which may seem like a lot for a pint-sized Kwaiken, but the level of craftsmanship at play here and the fit and finish are just borderline unparalleled. And considering the next cheapest Reate is a hair over $300, I'm okay with that pricing. And now I got mine barely used secondhand for just under $200, and even at that price, yeah, this is a no-brainer at $200. One of the most impressive liner locks I've ever handled, and some of the best front flipper action in the knife world today that I've come across. So fingers crossed this little Chinese masterpiece comes back around soon, because I really cannot recommend it enough. At any price, as long as it's no more than retail, please don't pay more than you have to. I love it, and I don't see myself letting it go for a good long while. So, until next time, thank you for watching. Bye-bye now.